Most people think wealth announces itself. They imagine loud ambition, aggressive moves, dramatic risk, and visible confidence. They believe rich minds are built through hustle, domination, or extraordinary talent. But the truth is quieter. Real wealth begins long before money appears. It begins in the way a person thinks about risk, time, patience, ownership, and enough. It begins in the internal rules that guide decisions when no one is watching. The richest minds are not built loudly. They are built silently through books that don't excite crowds, but steadily reshape judgment. Welcome to Sethtra Books. This episode is about 9 books that quietly build a rich mind. Not books that promise fast money. Not books that shout motivation, but books that train restraint, clarity, and long-term thinking. The invisible foundations of lasting wealth. The first book is The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. This book does not teach how to get rich. It teaches why people fail to stay rich. Its core message is uncomfortable. Financial success is less about intelligence and more about behavior. People with average knowledge but disciplined behavior outperform geniuses who cannot control emotion. Housel explains that luck and risk shape outcomes far more than skill alone, and that understanding this truth creates humility, a critical trait for wealth preservation. A rich mind does not obsess over optimization. It obsesses over survival. This book quietly teaches that the goal is not maximum return, but staying in the game long enough for compounding to work. The second book is The Almanac of Naval Ravikant by Eric Jorgensen. This is not a traditional finance book. It is a philosophy of leverage, freedom, and long-term wealth creation. Naval's thinking reshapes the definition of riches. Wealth is not money. Wealth is assets that earn while you sleep. Wealth is optionality. Wealth is freedom from forced decisions. The book emphasizes specific knowledge, skills that cannot be taught in classrooms and cannot be easily replaced. A rich mind learns to think in systems, not salaries. It values ownership over income and patience over urgency. This book quietly trains the reader to step off the treadmill most people never question. The third book is Margin of Safety by Seth Klarman. This book is rarely read, not because it lacks power, but because it lacks excitement. Its message is simple and demanding. Avoid loss at all costs. Klarman teaches that the difference between wealth and ruin often lies in small errors made during confident moments. The rich mind learns to demand a margin of safety in investments, in decisions, and in life. Instead of chasing upside, this book trains readers to avoid downside. It cultivates skepticism, discipline, and emotional distance. Traits rarely praised, but essential to long-term success. A rich mind does not need to be right often. It needs to avoid being wrong in ways that cannot be recovered. The fourth book is Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin. This book quietly rewires the relationship between money and meaning. It asks a disturbing question. How much of your life energy are you trading for your lifestyle? Instead of measuring wealth by income, it measures wealth by alignment, whether spending reflects values. The book teaches awareness, intentionality, and conscious consumption. A rich mind is not built by earning more alone, but by needing less. This book helps dismantle unconscious spending patterns that trap people in endless work cycles. True wealth begins when money becomes a tool, not a master. The fifth book is The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason. This book appears simple, even ancient, but its principles endure because they address human behavior, not markets. Through parables, it teaches saving before spending, respecting risk, and letting money work independently. These ideas are old because they work. A rich mind understands that habits shape destiny. This book quietly installs financial discipline through storytelling rather than instruction. It teaches that wealth is built gradually, guarded carefully, and grown patiently. The sixth book is The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley. This book destroys illusions. It reveals that most millionaires are not flashy, not famous, and not extravagant. They are disciplined, patient, and often invisible. The rich mind, according to this book, does not seek validation through spending. It prioritizes independence over appearance. By studying real data rather than fantasy, the book shows that wealth is more often the result of consistency than brilliance. It trains readers to respect boring success and distrust loud signals of wealth. The seventh book is Poor Charlie's Almanac by Charles T. Munger. This book is not easy, and that is intentional. Munger teaches mental models frameworks for understanding reality across disciplines. He emphasizes inversion, patience, rationality, and avoiding stupidity rather than chasing brilliance. A rich mind learns to think across fields, to recognize biases, and to resist emotion. This book teaches that success is not about having many ideas, but about avoiding obvious errors. It quietly builds intellectual humility, one of the most underrated financial strengths. The eighth book is The Little Book of Common Sense Investing by John C. Bogle. This book challenges complexity. Bogle argues that most people lose money not because markets are unpredictable, but because they overcomplicate decisions. Fees, emotions, and ego quietly erode returns. The rich mind embraces simplicity. It respects time, consistency, and low-cost discipline. This book trains patience in a world addicted to action. The final book is The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. This is not a book about intelligence. It is a book about temperament. Graham teaches that the market is not a judge of worth, but a voting machine driven by emotion. The rich mind learns to detach from noise and focus on value. The concept of margin of safety appears again, reinforcing that wealth is protected before it is grown. This book teaches restraint, discipline, and emotional mastery, qualities far more important than prediction. Together, these 9 books share a quiet philosophy. They do not promise speed. They do not glorify risk. They do not reward impulse. They train patience, clarity, humility, and long-term alignment. A rich mind is not built through excitement. It is built through calm. Most people search for opportunity. The rich mind prepares for endurance. At Sethtra Books, we believe the most powerful transformations happen quietly when thinking changes before results appear. If you want to build wealth that lasts, not wealth that impresses, these books are where the journey begins. Subscribe to Sethtra Books for cinematic explorations of books that shape judgment, patience, and real power. Because the richest minds are built long before money arrives.